a bad feeling. I don't remember how the dream began. That's what bothers me most. Usually, when I wake up from something vivid, there's at least a sense of transition, a place I came from, a reason I was there. With this dream, there was nothing. No arrival. No movement. Just the certainty that I already existed inside it. I was sitting in a train compartment, the narrow kind. 4 bunks, a small table under the window, yellowed curtains pulled halfway aside. My bag rested neatly beneath the lower berth, as if I'd packed it myself. I was alone. The door to the corridor stood open, and after a moment of listening to the hum of silence, I stepped out. The train car stretched in both directions, identical compartments lining the walls. Every door stood open. Empty. No passengers, no conductor, no sound of wheels on tracks. Yet I could hear voices. They came from outside. I leaned toward a window and pulled the curtain back. About 30 people stood beside the train, scattered along the length of the car. They spoke in low, urgent tones, pointing at the wheels, at the coupling, at the land around us. Beyond them stretched an endless steppe, flat and yellow under a heavy gray sky. No trees, no buildings, no roads, just grass and low hills. I hurried outside. The train car stood alone on a side track, detached from anything resembling a station. A few meters away, another set of rails ran parallel, or rather, had run parallel. They ended abruptly, swallowed by sand and grass. The people around me explained what they thought had happened. During the night, while everyone slept, our car had been uncoupled from the rest of the train and diverted onto a reserve track. No one remembered stopping. No one remembered slowing down. A conductor stood among us. He was a small man with tired eyes and a polite, fixed smile. His uniform looked old, the fabric faded and dusty. When people asked questions, he shrugged helplessly. "I don't know," he said in broken words. "Different road. Train go. Car stay. Soon we go. Everything good." No one believed him. Eventually, people drifted back inside. As I climbed the steps into the car, I noticed how dusty the metal felt beneath my hands. My palms came away gray. I didn't remember it being like that before. Inside, passengers returned to their compartments. Luggage appeared. Conversations resumed. Strained, but present. Only the conductor stayed outside, walking along the length of the car, running his hand along the rusting panels, smiling to himself. Time passed strangely. Day became night, then morning again without any sense of sleep. When I stepped outside the next time, the ladder creaked beneath my weight. The metal groaned, as if it had aged years overnight. That's when people realized someone was missing. At first it was one man, then a woman. Then 3 more names surfaced. 5 people had vanished during the night. Searches turned up nothing. No footprints. No signs of struggle. The conductor insisted he had locked the doors. "I close, I promise," he said, nodding earnestly. "People sleep. No one go." Anger rose, but fear sat heavier. The paint on the train began to peel. Rust crept along the seams. Window glass clouded, scratched by something fine and relentless. That night, no one wanted to be alone. And I realized, very clearly, that the train was not waiting to take us anywhere. It was waiting to see who would remain. By the 3rd morning, the word missing stopped sounding real. It became routine, like the rattle of the train that never moved. People gathered outside again, standing in small clusters, counting faces. No one cried anymore. Shock had burned itself out, leaving behind a dry, brittle tension. Another 5 were gone. Compartments that had been occupied the night before now sat open and empty, bedding neatly folded, as if no one had ever slept there. The conductor smiled and shrugged. "I don't know," he repeated. "Maybe wrong car. Maybe people go other way." No one believed him. A few men grabbed him, shoved him against the side of the car, demanded answers. He cried, pleaded, swore on his life that he didn't know anything. When they let him go, he wiped dust from his uniform and returned to his quiet inspection of the train, humming under his breath. That was when I noticed the rails. The reserve track beneath us was nearly buried now. Sand and dry grass pushed up between the ties, swallowing the steel. Where the main line should have been, there was nothing. No trace of rails at all. Just an uninterrupted stretch of steppe. I wondered if anyone else saw it. That afternoon, people stopped leaving the train entirely. Doors stayed shut. Curtains stayed drawn. Everyone watched everyone else. I walked the corridor, hoping to join another compartment, but doors closed when I knocked. Faces peered through cracks, then vanished. No one trusted a stranger anymore. Not after people had begun disappearing from locked rooms. I was alone again. That's when the boy approached me. He couldn't have been older than 7. Thin, dark-haired, wearing clothes that looked out of place. Too clean, too neat, as if untouched by the dust and decay eating the train. He tugged gently at my sleeve. "Miss," he said, "do you want to buy a day?" I stared at him. "Buy a what?" "A day of life," he answered simply. He held out a sheet of paper, torn from a small notebook. It was neatly lined with hours. 9-4, 10-4, 11-4, all the way to evening. Some of the boxes were already crossed out. "How much?" I asked, not knowing why. "Today?" He smiled. "Very cheap." His grandmother stood behind him, watching with indulgent amusement. "He's just playing," she said kindly, reaching to pull him away. But I stopped her. I don't know why I believed him. Maybe I didn't. Maybe I just needed something, anything, that felt like control. I paid him. He took the money seriously, counted it, then carefully scribbled something onto the page and handed it back to me. "Now it works," he said. That night, no one disappeared from my compartment. The next morning, more people were gone. Panic surged through the remaining passengers. Arguments erupted. Some wanted to walk into the steppe. Others insisted on barricading themselves inside. A man with a hunting rifle announced that we should move together before the train collapsed entirely. I searched the crowd for the boy. He found me first. "You want another day?" he asked. "How much this time?" I said. "More," he replied. "But today is safe for you." I bought another page. By evening, the ladder to the train finally gave way, collapsing under a man's weight. Blood stained the dust. They dragged him inside anyway. No one wanted to be left outside. Inside, the decay accelerated. Floors bowed. Walls grew soft. Mold bloomed beneath the panels. The air smelled old-like, something abandoned too long. That night, a man shared my compartment. He laughed at the paper I carried, told me I was letting a child scare me. By morning, he was gone. My paper lay folded neatly on his bunk. I understood then. The pages didn't protect a person. They protected time. And time, once bought, had to come from somewhere else. By the time I understood the rules, there were very few of us left. The train no longer felt like a vehicle. It was a carcass. Rust flaked off in sheets. The metal skin sagged inward, ribs exposed. Grass pushed through holes in the floor. Pale yellow stalks swaying as if stirred by a wind that didn't exist inside the car. We counted 12 people. No one knew exactly when the conductor disappeared. One morning he was simply gone, his uniform jacket hanging neatly on a hook near the vestibule, buttons polished, sleeves empty. No one asked questions anymore. The man with the rifle stood in the center of what had once been a corridor and said we had to leave. That staying meant waiting. That waiting meant being chosen. No one argued with him. The sky darkened quickly that evening, clouds pressing low over the steppe, turning everything the color of old ash. The train groaned as if reacting to the change, metal stretching, joints complaining. I checked my pocket. 2 pages. Both crossed and marked. I felt no relief. Only a growing pressure, like I was borrowing time from something that expected it back with interest. I looked for the boy. He stood near the edge of the car, feet dangling above the ground, swinging idly. His grandmother sat beside him, hands folded in her lap, smiling faintly at the chaos around her, as if it were a street performance. "You're almost out," I said quietly. He nodded. "Everyone is." "What happens when your notebook ends?" He shrugged again, the same careless motion as before. "Then I don't sell anymore? And us?" He didn't answer that. That night, I stayed awake. I watched shadows stretch and retract along the walls. I listened to breathing that didn't always match the number of people in the compartment. Once, I was certain someone sat on the bunk across from me, weight pressing into the mattress. But when I turned my head, there was nothing there. Near dawn, glass shattered somewhere down the car. I ran toward the sound. One of the compartments had collapsed outward, window frame rotted through. Cold air rushed in. A woman sat inside, pressed into the corner, eyes wide and unblinking. She didn't respond when I spoke to her. The man who had been with her was gone. On his bunk lay my page, folded, returned. Outside, the remaining passengers gathered. The rifleman spoke again, louder now, desperate. He said we had to walk before the train disappeared entirely. He pointed into the steppe, where the hills rolled endlessly in every direction, identical, featureless. I searched the crowd again. The boy was gone. So was his grandmother. Panic surged, sharp and raw. Then I heard it, a ringing. Close. Too close. At first I thought it was coming from inside the train. Then I realized it was coming from me, from my pocket. My alarm. The sound cut through everything like a hook, snagging my thoughts, pulling hard. The world around me began to thin, colors fading, edges blurring. The steppe dissolved. The train warped inward like a reflection disturbed by water. As the ringing grew louder, I saw the boy one last time. He stood alone on the rusted platform, holding the empty cover of his notebook. Tears streamed down his face, silent and heavy. He looked at me not with fear, but with apology. Then sunlight flooded my vision. I woke up. I was in my bed. Morning light streamed through the curtains. My alarm screamed beside me, insistent and ordinary. I lay there shaking, heart racing, staring at the ceiling. The dream faded quickly, as dreams do, leaving behind fragments. The train. The boy. The pages. But one thing remained. A feeling. Years passed. I never dreamed of it again. I told no one. Life moved on. School. Work. Travel. And now, years later, I'm writing this from a train compartment. A real one. Outside the window, forests give way to open land. By evening, we'll reach the steppe. I know because I checked the route twice. An hour ago, a boy about 7 years old stopped in my doorway. Clean clothes. Careful eyes. He looked at me. I looked at him. We both knew. He reached into his pocket, but before he could speak, his grandmother appeared, gently took his hand, and pulled him away. "Not yet," she said softly. "I don't feel fear. Not really. Just a bad feeling. And the strange certainty that this time, when the train slows, I'll remember how the dream ends."